A cigarette pack cost 20 cents in 1955. A gallon of gas was 29 cents. And a penny with a printing mistake was about to become worth more than most people's annual salary. The Philadelphia Mint had just created one of the most famous error coins in American history, and they had no idea what they'd unleashed. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll discover exactly how a mechanical malfunction at the U.S. Mint created a collecting phenomenon that's still driving people wild today. You'll learn why the government tried to pull these coins from circulation, how a lucky few slipped through the cracks, and why collectors are paying astronomical prices for what looks like ordinary pocket change. The final auction numbers will leave you speechless. The story begins on a Tuesday morning in March 1955, deep inside the Philadelphia Mint. Workers were operating the massive coin presses that churned out millions of Lincoln cents every day. These machines worked with clockwork precision. A working die would strike blank copper planchets with over 100 tons of pressure, creating perfect coins at a rate of hundreds per minute. But on this particular morning, something went catastrophically wrong with one of the obverse dies. The die that imprints the front of the coin had somehow become misaligned during the hubbing process. When mint workers created the working die, the hub struck it once in the normal position. Then, for reasons that numismatists still debate today, the hub struck again at a slightly rotated angle. The result was a working die with doubled images. Every detail on the front of the coin appeared twice Lincoln's profile, the date, the motto "In God We Trust," and the word liberty all showed dramatic doubling effects. The date, 1955, was so severely doubled that it looked almost three-dimensional, with shadow images clearly visible to the naked eye. Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The mint workers actually noticed something was wrong. The doubled images were so obvious that quality control should have caught them immediately. According to mint records discovered decades later, supervisors did identify the error and ordered production stopped. They were supposed to melt down all the coins struck with the defective die. Almost all of them. The Mint's official records show that approximately 24,000 doubled die cents were struck before production halted. Workers gathered these coins for destruction, following standard procedure for error coins. They were supposed to be melted down and the copper recycled into new planchets. The Mint wanted no trace of this embarrassing mistake to reach the public. Little did they know, several thousand coins had already escaped. The breakthrough in this mystery came from an unlikely source, cigarette companies. In 1955, many businesses received their pennies in large bags directly from the Mint for making change. Cigarette vending machines were everywhere, and they required exact change. Several bags of the double die pennies had been shipped to distributors before the Mint realized their mistake. Workers loading these vending machines across Philadelphia and the Northeast started noticing something strange about certain pennies. The dates looked blurry, almost like double vision. Most dismissed it as dirt or wear, but a few sharp-eyed individuals recognized they were seeing something unusual. The first confirmed discovery happened at a small corner store in Philadelphia. The owner, examining his daily take from the cigarette machine, noticed several pennies with bizarre-looking dates. He set them aside, thinking they might be counterfeits. When he showed them to a local coin dealer, the dealer's reaction was immediate. These weren't counterfeits. They were mint errors of extraordinary rarity. Word spread quickly through the tight-knit numismatic community. Collectors began frantically searching through cigarette change and bank rolls, hoping to find examples of what was already being called the 1955 double die penny. The hunt was on. That's when everything changed. Within weeks of the first discoveries, collectors realized they were dealing with something unprecedented. The doubling wasn't subtle like most mint errors. It was dramatic, visible, and absolutely unmistakable. Even non-collectors could see the doubled images immediately. The Mint's attempts to keep the error quiet had backfired spectacularly. By trying to destroy the evidence, they had created something even more valuable, a coin with a documented mintage of virtually zero, yet with enough survivors to create a collecting market. The first major auction appearance happened in late 1955. Heritage Auctions, then a small regional auction house, offered a single 1955 double die cent in uncirculated condition. The bidding was fierce. Collectors who had heard whispers about the coin drove from neighboring states to attend the auction in person. When the hammer fell, the coin had sold for $87.50. In 1955 dollars, that was nearly a full week's wages for the average American worker. For a penny, the collecting world took notice. But here's the twist no one saw coming. As more examples surfaced, experts made a startling discovery. Not all 1955 double die cents were created equal. The working die had deteriorated during the striking process, creating subtle variations in the doubling effects. Coins struck early in the production run showed sharper, more dramatic doubling. Later strikes were progressively weaker. This created multiple subvarieties within an already rare coin. Suddenly, collectors weren't just seeking any 1955 double die cent. They were hunting for the sharpest, most dramatic examples with the strongest doubling effects. The most famous discovery story involves a Massachusetts collector named Robert Lawrence. In 1957, Lawrence was going through rolls of pennies from his local bank when he spotted something that made his heart race. Nestled among ordinary wheat cents was a 1955 penny with doubling so sharp it looked almost three-dimensional. Lawrence's coin was different from the others that had surfaced. The doubling was incredibly strong, and the coin was in pristine uncirculated condition. He had found what numismatists would later call the Lawrence specimen, one of the finest known examples of the variety. The authentication process for Lawrence's coin became legendary in collecting circles. When he submitted it to the American Numismatic Association for verification, 3 separate experts examined it under high-powered magnification. All confirmed it was genuine, and all agreed they had never seen doubling effects quite so dramatic on any U.S. coin. Here's where the mystery deepens even further. In the 1960s, several more specimens surfaced with similar characteristics to Lawrence's coin. All showed identical die markers, tiny scratches and imperfections that proved they came from the same working die during the same brief production period. Experts realized these coins represented the earliest strikes from the double die, before where began degrading the dramatic effects. The collecting community dubbed these early strikes the first-generation double die cents. Only 12 examples have ever been certified in this category. 12 coins from a production run that was supposed to be completely destroyed. The government's response was swift and decisive. In 1958, the Treasury Department issued an official statement acknowledging the existence of the 1955 double die cents but emphasizing that they were unintentional errors not authorized for release. The statement warned that the government retained the right to confiscate any error coins found in circulation. This threat backfired dramatically. Instead of discouraging collecting, it created a treasure hunt mentality. People began hoarding 1955 pennies, convinced they might find additional double die examples. Banks reported unprecedented demand for penny rolls. Coin dealers couldn't keep 1955 cents in stock. The bidding war that followed broke every record in numismatic history. When the Lawrence specimen came up for auction in 1996, 40 years after its discovery, collectors from around the world submitted bids. Phone bidders from Japan, Switzerland, and England participated. The auction house had to extend bidding for additional rounds as prices soared beyond all expectations. Most collectors thought this was impossible until the auction results came in. The Lawrence specimen, a single penny with a printing mistake, sold for $85,000. $85,000 for a coin with a face value of 1 cent. The price represented an 8.5 million % premium over face value. That record lasted exactly 3 years. In 1999, another first-generation specimen appeared at a major auction. This coin, discovered in a Nevada estate sale, showed even sharper doubling than the Lawrence example. Bidding opened at $10,000 and climbed relentlessly. When the hammer fell, the final price was $114,000. The coin grading companies revolutionized how these rarities were valued. Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Corporation began using sophisticated imaging technology to analyze the doubling effects. They established precise grading criteria, measuring the strength and clarity of the doubled images down to microscopic details. This scientific approach revealed something extraordinary. Of the estimated 400 to 800 1955 double die cents that survived the mint's destruction order, fewer than 40 showed truly exceptional doubling strength. These top-tier examples became the holy grail for advanced collectors. The most recent auction results sent shockwaves through the collecting world. In 2018, a specimen graded MS64 by PCGS achieved a price that redefined the entire rare coin market. Heritage Auctions had promoted the coin for months, highlighting its exceptional eye appeal and pristine surfaces. Collectors knew this might be their only chance to acquire such a premium example. Pre-auction estimates suggested the coin might reach $200,000. Serious collectors scoffed at such conservative predictions. They had been watching the market for decades and understood the true rarity of high-grade double die cents. The bidding war lasted 17 minutes. Floor bidders, phone bidders, and online participants drove the price higher and higher. When competitive bidding finally ended, the 1955 double die Lincoln cent had sold for $348,000. Nearly $350,000 for a penny that was supposed to have been melted down in 1955. Today, experts estimate that fewer than 300 examples of the 1955 double die cent exist in all grades. Most show significant wear from circulation, making high-grade specimens exponentially more valuable. A coin that represents one of the most dramatic mint errors in American history continues to break auction records and captivate collectors worldwide. The Philadelphia Mint's attempt to cover up their mistake created one of the most sought-after coins in existence. Every collector dreams of finding that perfect example, and every auction appearance generates international attention. The 1955 double die cent proves that sometimes the best treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone sharp-eyed enough to recognize their true value. If you're fascinated by coins that changed collecting history, you won't want to miss our next video about the 1916 D Mercury dime, the coin that launched 1,000 treasure hunts, and why finding one in your pocket change could still change your life today. The survival rate will astound you.